So let's talk about some structures, because I know this is something that you want to do. And not just to have a structure when you're developing your talk, but also if you're called upon suddenly to fill a slot to give a talk, you want to have a very, very simple structure. So you can say, okay, what do I need to think of here? I need to do da-da, 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 da-da. And then you can build that in. Just do a quick 10-minute talk. So we've got various different ones here, and they kind of can segue together as well. But the first thing that you need to look at is you can say, right, what is it that I'm speaking about? Why do people need to do this or know about it? And then how can they get involved? Those could be your 3 elements for your structure. You always, whatever you want to do, whenever you've got points to make, don't just stand there and make a point. Make the point and then tell a story that illustrates the point. Because it's the stories that people will always, always remember. Even if you've forgotten the stories, because what you're focused on is what is the point I'm trying to make, it's the stories that people will remember. So tell stories and tie the story down to the point that you're trying to make. Even if to start with, you're telling a story and they're thinking, where's this going? That's good if they're thinking, where is this going? Because curiosity is coming up in your audience if they don't quite know where it's going. But when you finish and you say, and of course, the point of the story is, what you want them to be going is, yes, of course. So think of what stories you can use. And you know, whenever you come up with stories, you want to get them written down. Whenever you come up with stories, whatever they are, people forget stories all the time. I was telling Sally this morning that I was speaking to Judith Morgan, my coach. I was speaking to her yesterday. And she said to me, oh, I want you to blog that story you told about the salesman. And I said, what story about the salesman? She said, about the car salesman. I said, what story about the car salesman? She said, about the car salesman with the children. Oh, what story about that? Oh, yes, I remember. And I told this story just off the top of my head because it was appropriate at that time and it came to me on this teleclass. But I'd forgotten all about it because I didn't write it down. Now you want to know what the story is, don't you? We were out on the test drive. At the moment, I'm driving a Land Rover Freelander. The reason I've had that, very, very different. The reason I had that was because I was doing a lot of motorway driving. For about 3 years, I was driving up and down the motorway all over the country. But now, it's coming to the end of its contract hire, and I want something a bit, represents me a bit more. So Z4 sounds very nice. Went out there in this car. I really like this. And I've got the salesman next to me, and he says, so this is a bit different from the Freelander then? I said, yes, it is, isn't it? He said, so what then? Family grown up, left home, fancy a sports car now? Does this face look bothered? Yes, it does. And I just looked at him for several seconds, which was a bit worrying because I was doing 80 down dual carriageway at the time. Looked at him with my mouth open, and I said, I don't have any children. And he said, oh, sorry, I just assumed. Now, the thing is, not only do I not have children, but I like to think that I don't look old enough to have grown-up children.